That was funny.
Welcome to the SWAT. Hey. Are we live? Because it didn't come up.
Oh, we live.
Right, now we're good. We're good. Hey, good morning.
Hey.
Hope you all had a nice Friday night. Shout out to Ohio State. Shout out to the under. I almost nailed the score, too. I don't know if you guys caught on, or I remember me saying that. I said 27-16 was my guess on the final score. We got 28-14. Pretty close on that.
Shipley had 27-14, $10 to win like $2,000.
Shut up. Did he really?
Yeah, he was 1 point off. Yeah.
Why even place that bet? Dude, that guy has something wrong with him.
Dude.
Why even place that
You
bet?
know that.
I don't understand. I even told him, I was like, if you have 27-14, why not put another $5 or $10 on 28-14?
Or why put the original $5 or $10 on 27-14? What? Who places that bet?
Kickers aren't people. You shouldn't.
And that's the kind of shit where you're only going to hear about it if it almost hits. Or who knows how many other ridiculous bets.
He did post it as a loser on his Instagram. That's why I saw it.
Oh, he shared it on his Instagram. I don't even know if I follow him on Instagram. So got the Ohio State, got the under. As far as the NBA, oh man, I should have placed some bets. I don't know if you guys watched the show yesterday. On the show, hold on, let me pull up last night's.
A lot of your leans hit.
Every single one of my leans hit. I said I liked Orlando. I'm sorry, no, Orlando didn't cover. How did that game not finish? Wow. I'm looking at the game from a few nights back. So last night, Orlando covered. I said I liked the Pelicans, they covered. I said I liked the Kings, they covered. I said I liked the Thunder, they covered. Didn't bet any of them. Didn't bet any of those. The only bet I had was the Warriors bet that I placed that got crushed with the injury updates. So, I should have placed some NBA bets last night. I was pretty on the money there.
Dude, that was your -3 CLV, right?
Yeah, the one where I bet it and then Steph and Draymond ruled out. All right,
I'll never get that $100 back.
Yeah, well, they actually still fought, but anyway.
I was gonna say, dude, when I checked the score and I saw they lost like every quarter by like 3 points. It really wasn't that bad.
Someone said you were against Sacramento. No, I was very adamant about the Kings yesterday. I even said Kings money line. Yeah, I put the belt up on that. So we're doing college basketball first. Toast and Scoop are going to do it. I'll be here. I'm going to run out for a second. But these guys are going to go through some college basketball. Then we're doing NFL. Then we're doing NBA. I got 2 NBA bets later. Hopefully Chris is going to make it. We got Steve just a bit outside coming on for NFL. So, yeah, we'll be here all morning. Go ahead, guys. Take it away. I don't care about this game.
Okay. Auburn, South Carolina. Obviously one of the bigger spreads today. Scoop, you can kick it off. I don't really have a lean. I would love to come on here with a straight face and say that I really want to take South Carolina in this game, and I really wish I could, because I do think that they've played some pretty good teams that's going to at least help prepare them for Auburn, but there's not a chance in hell I actually do it. What about you?
Yeah, it's really hard to go against Auburn right now. They've been on a roll. Auburn obviously plays way better at home if you follow college basketball.
Welcome to the jungle!
I'm a big proponent of the Cox. It's one of my favorite things. Teams. But this team is not the same as last year. The issue, obviously, is 16.5 is, as an away team, no matter how good you are, is a rough sell. Even though South Carolina did look completely flaccid against Mississippi State and Alabama, both losses by 20+, and the last game was at home to Bama. I want to get to South Carolina, but I have to admit there's no solid reason. I do think Auburn is the best team in the nation, definitely the best offensive team anyway, and even defensively, they're 15th in the effective field goal percentage on the defense side. I don't see a path for South Carolina, really. Rebounding, turnovers, offense, defense, it's just all favors Auburn. South Carolina is better defensively than offensively, but it's hard to see stopping Auburn for long. Miles Stewart is out. He's a good rotational piece for South Carolina. But, listen, Broome, Johnson, Baker, Mazzara, Pettiford, 6 of these players are averaging 10 points or over a game. It's just going to be really hard. The backcourt, they don't have the defenders or offense to do much. This would be Auburn or pass. The turnaround just hurt too much on this team. Michi Johnson, BJ Mack, Cooper, it just burned this team. the cocks are chafed after getting blasted 2 games in a row. It's not changing here. I would definitely take Auburn if I was taking it, but I just can't lean, or I just can't bet 16.5 on the road. I feel like that's crazy.
Yeah, I pretty much feel the same thing. If this game was in the jungle, maybe it's a little bit of a different story, but it's just really hard to step in front of our Auburn in general. I felt that Sauce and I were on Texas the last game. We were catching 10.5, but I think that South Carolina is significantly worse than Texas is. I do think South Carolina is probably going to try to slow this game down to an absolute crawl, and that's where I think the points could come in as a factor. But at the same time, if Auburn has anything going today, they should win this game by 20 plus. The one thing I will say is that the last couple of games that South Carolina has lost, teams have really shot the ball well against them. But I think when they played Mississippi State shot 75% from the field. Alabama shot 40% from deep. That also plays into the fact that they're playing these better teams, and Auburn is definitely one of those teams. So it would definitely be Auburn or pass. I think with 150 games on the schedule, there's better spots to play for sure. But it would definitely be Auburn or pass for me.
Oh man, I'm upset I missed all that astute analysis about Auburn minus 16.5. Next game.
Michael Jordan did say Auburn money line, and I kind of respect it.
He said that?
Wow.
Yeah, it's really good.
No, wait, where did he say this?
Michael Jordan, right there. Auburn on the money line.
Oh, that's not Michael. I thought he meant Michael Jordan tweeted that or something. Michael Jordan. Wow, dude.
I listen, Jordan's a big gambler, so maybe he knows something.
I know, that's why I believed it.
And merit.
Yeah, that's why I believed it. I was like, dude, his airness is down
Jordan
bad.
Money line, that's not bad.
Money lines out here.
Betting minus 3,000 money lines, his airness is down bad right now.
Put one of his race cars on the money line.
All right.
Yeah.
Iowa State, Texas Tech. Let's talk some Big 12. Look, I know going into Lubbock is tough, but a guy like Matt Campbell just gives the locker room a certain type of fortitude through the entire. It's electricity through the entire athletic department. So at a short road dog here, you got to look clones, right?
Scoop.
I know Iowa State's a force pretty much every game or double-digit wins, and I know Toast is taking Texas Tech. This is a ballsy move, in my opinion.
Full unit on the full unit.
I know it's a short number at home. They did have a 2-game road trip, their first of the season. They won both. Utah's whatever. I don't consider them a basketball team. But BYU is a big win in Provo, so that's solid. Iowa State's a top 10 in offensive and defensive efficiency, awesome at scoring, ball movement, ball security, assist-to-turnover ratio. Top 10. And as good as the Iowa State team was last year, this team is better than that. They're growing offensively. Listen, Texas Tech is a better offensive team than Iowa State. They're a better shooting team. They're great behind the three. They're also 8-1 at home. They're great at moving the ball around. They were third in assists when I was looking yesterday. I don't know if that changed. Elijah Hawkins is great at facilitating the ball. This is kind of like UCLA. Great at getting teams to turn the ball over. But Texas Tech is a great ball handling team. So I don't have a bet personally. I see a path for both teams. It's just hard to go against Iowa State. Gilbert's really improved over last year. He found a great mix of offense and defense right now. It should be a fun game, but I'll let Toast take Texas Tech.
Well, I don't know if None Like Me, the guy in the comments, I don't know if that's him, but someone always comments when Toast fades Iowa State. He always talks about every time Toast fades the clones, I know we're going to win. He's like an Iowa State. I don't know if it's him. I don't know if it's this guy, but someone has a rivalry against you betting against Iowa State. There's a history there for this person.
I wish I was smoking what that guy was smoking, because I feel like I've only bet against them one time this year, and I won with Colorado plus 10.5.
You know how the comments are. It might have been one time.
I know, that's why but it makes you think. I just don't remember. Oh, I might have played them against Baylor. I don't know. Maybe I took the points with Baylor, and that's what he's talking about. I don't know. It's whatever. It's Red Raiders up today, though, boys, for sure. Iowa State's a very, very good basketball team. Not trying to poke holes in what they've done, but they haven't proven themselves on the road yet this year. Now they got to travel to Lubbock, which is one of the biggest venues in the sport. Not to say that I feel like Texas Tech is a better team or anything, but I think spot-wise screams Texas Tech. Not to mention the fact that Texas Tech might be one of the most underrated teams in the country that we're not talking about. Nobody has them ranked right now, but shot quality, Ken Palm, Evan Maya, all these big sites I'll have them in the top 20. Ohio State creates a lot of issues for teams because they're good defensively and they can turn the ball over. But unfortunately for them, they're facing a Texas Tech team that doesn't turn the ball over. They can rebound just as well. And if not to mention, if there's this Texas Tech team is finally starting to play really well and finally healthy. I just feel like after the BYU win with Texas Tech on the road, I think that's going to give them a lot of confidence here against this Ohio State team or Iowa State team. Not to mention we're going to talk about here with the Cincinnati game sooner or later. These short home dogs against our unranked teams against ranked teams is always going to be a spot that I want to play on. It's been a spot in college basketball for a long time. So I'm all over Texas Tech here today. Again, not trying to poke holes in what Iowa State's done. I think they're a top 5 team in the country. But the fact of the matter is they've only played 2 road games. One of them was Iowa, and the other one was Colorado. They didn't cover against Colorado. They won by the game by Iowa versus 9. I think that Texas Tech presents a whole bunch of problems for Iowa State here today.
And if you're interested in line movement, Texas Tech is now -3 on DraftKings.
Yeah, I got Texas Tech money line at a pick 'em, so that's a complete. I would lean Iowa State at that number at 3. If you're getting 3, Iowa State.
It's 3 on DraftKings right now.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Next,
CLV King.
CLV King.
Someone said 1.5 speed on live broadcast needs to be a feature. I think
You could figure that out.
Yeah, I don't know if you know how live works, but
billionaire.
this is live. We're doing this right now.
People always say that I talk in 1.5 speed anyway, so just stick around, you'll see it.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug. Kansas, Cincinnati, sticking to the Big 12. Short number here for Kansas. I'm not going to bet on Cincinnati again, though, after what they did to what game was that? Where they looked like absolute shit. We both bet them at -3.
We're not talking about that game.
Who were they playing?
Kentucky?
No, it wasn't Kentucky.
I think it was the Kansas State game.
It was
I don't think it was Kansas State either.
It was
Kansas
last
State.
Saturday.
Was it Kansas
Last
State?
Saturday. So Arizona.
It was Arizona.
Yeah,
it was
it was
definitely
Arizona.
It was definitely Arizona.
Or something.
Oh my god.
Anyway, that being said, I know Toast has the philosophy unranked home favorites against ranked teams. He usually hammers. He's doing that for Cincy too, I'm sure. Yeah, I actually bet this too. I agree with this one more than the other game. I know Cincinnati's on a 3-game slide. 2 of them were away games. Baylor, they just looked terrible. But I mean, Arizona, they only lost by 5 at home. Now they host Kansas, but I don't think Kansas is really great this year. Cincy needs this win badly. They're 0-3 in the Big 12. You may look at this as a revenge game. If you don't remember, Cincy eliminated Kansas last year in the Big 12 tournament last year by 20. Skillings did this to them before, putting them 25. I do know Kansas was battling injuries then, but the confidence is there for Cincy. He shot 5 for 7 from 3 in that Baylor blowout. Skillings, he has the ability to score anywhere on the court. He does need Lukosius to be way better than he has been since Big 12 started. So Cincinnati, even though they're on a 3-game slide, they're an all-around solid team, pretty good on both ends of the court. And I think Kansas might be a little better inside, but there's no concernable rebound advantage there. Their rebound margins are pretty comparable altogether. And Dylan Mitchell is 12th nationally in effective field goal percentage. He's the best guy since he has down low. He'll get some offensive rebounds for second chance points. I think really, though, these teams are pretty close talent-wise. I mean, Cincinnati was 14th in the country like 2 weeks ago. So they're not a bad team. They're going through a rough patch. But Cincinnati should be able to cause some turnovers. Kansas isn't great at protecting the ball at all. They're coming off of half against Arizona State where they were losing by 4.5 at home. They definitely go into offensive lulls, and I think this is a good spot for Cincinnati. This is just going to be a low-scoring, grind-them-out type game. Cincinnati is going to have some urgency to pull it out. They don't want to go 0-4 in the Big 12. And like I said, I don't think Kansas is that great. So I think I like Cincinnati here. I'll catch the 1.5.
Prop Beaver, can you adjust the size of your YouTube stream window so that the poll isn't cut off? That's bothering me. But yeah, let's we can go to the next game.
No, we can't, because I want to talk about my play.
He does want to talk about it.
Okay.
So again, unranked home favorites. I talked about that. I'm almost going to be on them anytime when we see spots like this. I also think, like Scoop said, I think that Cincinnati does match up well because they're big and physical. And I'm at a point right now where I just don't trust this Kansas team. If you just take a look at what they've done their last couple games, I mean, they go in and they get beat by West Virginia at home, which is a spot that, like, a very, very surprising thing. And then they go on the road they're like, okay, they win by 50 on the road against UCF. Okay, they're back. They should be playing well. Now they get another home game against Arizona State. And like Scoop said, they looked like dog shit in the first half. They were down or maybe up 1 or whatever it was. And then they ended up having a really good second half, and Arizona State kind of folded. And they ended up winning that game by double digits. But now they're having to go on the road, a place that they haven't fared well at all. They only had like that USC game that I talked about, our UCF game. They lost to Creighton on the road. They lost to Missouri on the road. I mean, and I talk about how Kansas has all this talent. Well, AJ Storr, one of their prized possessions, a 6'7" transfer, Wisconsin, he's been benched at times. Hunter Dickinson looks like just a block guy out there. He does absolutely nothing besides just like fee, five, boom, bum. Like that's how I see Hunter Dickinson. Like, so I just think this is a very, very good spot for Cincinnati. You're essentially getting a desperate Cincinnati team. Not to mention the fact that I feel like it's a little bit of a step down in class for Cincinnati too. On the road at Kansas State, at home against Arizona, on the road in Baylor. There's not very many teams in the country that are going to look good after that 3-game stretch. So I think that we see a full focus Cincinnati.
Man, Arizona's not even good this year.
Arizona's starting to play a lot better though. They're like really starting to play better.
So Kansas is a step down in competition. Kansas.
The way that Kansas has been playing, yes. I mean,
that's what we said about Arizona.
Look who Arizona has lost to. Wisconsin, who's scoring fucking 100 points a night. Duke, who's winning 20 points a game. Oklahoma on a neutral, and the reason that they lost that game is because they folded. West Virginia, who has wins over like 5 of the top 10 teams in the country. UCLA. I mean, Arizona's played like one of the best schedules in the country. I mean, I don't think that they're great, but I also think that they're a lot better than people give them credit for. And we've cashed like 2 in a row with them, so.
Man, Kansas is loaded. They're going to be fine.
You would think they're loaded, but who? I know you can't do it, but like, there's not one player that scares me. Hunter Dickinson isn't doing diddly poo lately. I mean, like, he's going to give you 10 points and I don't know, 8 to 12 rebounds, and yeah.
Just a double.
Okay, that's your best player. You're All-American. What are you talking about?
All right, let's go to the next. Don't they have a point guard that's an NBA kid?
No, he's not an NBA kid. Harris is not an NBA kid. He's a really, really, really good college basketball player.
So they don't have any other players, but they have a really, really good college basketball player, a point guard.
There's a big difference between a good college player and an NBA player.
Toast, show me on the doll where Kansas touched you. What do you have against Kansas?
I have nothing against Kansas. I've said over and over again that I thought coming into the year they had the best 3-headed monster. Scoop, don't say a word. And Dickinson, Harris, and Storr. And I mean, but they just really haven't performed. So,
all right. Next up, this is crazy. UConn's only laying 4.5 to Georgetown.
Because I keep telling you guys, Georgetown is for real, and nobody wants to listen to me. I keep betting the Hoyas, keep cashing, and nobody wants to listen to me. They all just want to poke holes and talk shit about Georgetown. So go ahead, Scoop.
Yeah, UConn stinks. Yeah, I mean, this was 3.5. It's 4.5. I bet Georgetown as well. I know me and Toast talked before, and we said that UConn would take a considerable step back this year. I personally didn't think it would be this much. And you may say, okay, it was UConn's first loss since that Hawaii stretch. Sure, but if you watch the games, they could have a lot more losses. They could have lost to Butler, Providence, Xavier, Butler, or Baylor. They could have lost all 4 of these. I mean, credit to them. They did pull it out. It sucks for Caravan that last game. He missed those 2 free throws, which I laughed at.
Oh, my God.
It's not the offensive end that's obviously killing them. It's defensively. They're having a hard time just stopping anyone. They have no big man. They have no perimeter guard play defensively. Liam McNeely's going to be out for a few weeks, so that hurts them on both ends, more so defensively. They do give up actually a considerable amount of points more per possession when he's off the court. Georgetown, on the other hand, props to Ed Cooley for this turnaround. Against Marquette, they were leading at half, just couldn't do much in that second half, but yeah, it's really the opposite for Georgetown. They struggle a bit offensively, but they're a really solid defense. Georgetown's home. UConn only covered 1 game the last 5 games. And with Georgetown getting more than a possession, I like the spot here. I said when we talked about Georgetown last, let's see how they're doing defensively when they start playing bigger and better teams. Well, they played Marquette, Xavier, Creighton, Syracuse,
and
West
they got
Virginia.
beat by Marquette.
Okay, but they were leading.
And they covered. Thank you. Thank you.
And they're still 5th in the country in defensive 2-point field goal percentage. So against those types of teams. So, and UConn likes going inside. I think they're going to have some issues there. I'm going to go with the Hoyas. I love them here. So,
and really the Marquette game, they had a bad 7-minute stretch out of halftime, and besides that game was like a 1-possession game the whole time. There was like a bad 7 to 10 minute stretch there. So, but I agree with Scoop. I think this line is kind of telling. I was waiting for this morning because I knew the world would love to bet UConn, especially after that loss and those free throws. And everybody loves to listen to a Hurley rant. But I just don't think that UConn's that good anymore. I really don't. Even with McNeely in there, I really wasn't a fan of this team. I continued to say it. It was one thing that me and Andy would argue about constantly. And I just feel like this Georgetown team is one of the most underrated teams in the marketplace. And I'm going to continue to say that. And I'm going to continue to bet on them until I start losing some bets. But you have a Georgetown team here that is playing at home against a UConn team that doesn't play well on the road, a Georgetown team that can play slow like with UConn can, because Georgetown can stack up with them defensively. Georgetown is by far head and shoulders a better defensive team than UConn. And if UConn's not on with their offense, and I don't know if they're going to be that, because I feel like Georgetown has a lot of guys to match up with UConn today. So everybody likes UConn. I get that. And I know that they're coming off of a loss, but Scoop just touched on it. They haven't really looked good. After the Gonzaga, the Texas game, I will give them. They looked pretty decent. But the Baylor game, and this is going back to December 4th, keep in mind, they didn't have Baylor didn't have Edgecombe. They, what's his face? Jeremy Roach got hurt in that game. So it wasn't even a full Baylor team. Then they go and they barely beat Texas, which they had a really big first half. Texas came back in the second half in that game. I'm almost positive they still won that game. The Gonzaga game, the same thing. At home in New York, home cooking, refs on their side. They still only win that game by 6. They should have lost. Then they play Xavier, who's terrible in overtime. They only beat Butler by 4. They beat DePaul by double digits, and then they should have lost to Villanova or Providence, and then they lost to Villanova. I'm just not at a spot where I've seen Connecticut look impressive at all. I mean, we just went through their games. I'm just not at a point where Connecticut, especially on the road in a conference game against an upstart Georgetown team, no way in hell. Hoyas up.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and if the line was 10, I can get it. But it seems the market is over-adjusting to everything you guys just said. 4.5 between these two teams is crazy.
What happened to the Hoya love you showed last year, man?
That was when it was cool to love the Hoyas. Now, I was on Georgetown before it was cool to be on Georgetown.
It jumped the shark now, so.
Yeah, I mean, the poll, Georgetown's about to win this poll.
Because I've been giving out Georgetown on this show for weeks, and all they do is straight cash, baby. Straight cash.
Put UConn up for me. I want UConn up for me.
Straight cash.
I want a screenshot of toast on Georgetown and me on UConn for later. There you go. Perfect. All right, next. Florida. I'm actually going to bet UConn too. Hold on, let me write that down.
Good. Do it.
Being crazy over here.
Yeah, good. Hope Georgetown wins straight up.
All you fake sharps, give me a better price.
You know what? I'm gonna bet Georgetown money line right now.
Good, sweet. Maybe I get a 4 then after we get off the stream.
Maybe that'd be nice.
Can we talk SEC ball? Florida on the road against the Hogs. Same line, 4.5. Matos, I know you like this Florida team because you had Florida as one of your biggest bets of the year. Against, I forget who they were playing, but they beat the Christ out of them. Whoever it was it Tennessee?
Tennessee, they won by 30.
Yeah, that game was over 5 minutes in.
Yeah, the definition of air, boys.
Yeah. Well, now they're laying 4.5 on the road. Arkansas's been scoring, haven't they? I think I remember looking at Arkansas stuff, and they actually had decent offensive numbers. Correct me if I'm wrong.
They do have decent offensive numbers, especially since the teams that they've played, especially the last couple games in conference, Tennessee and Mississippi, both can play extremely good defense. So, again, you can pick and choose with Arkansas at times, but I mean, they can put up like 100 points. They can also score 50 points. It's kind of like a coin flip with this Arkansas team for sure. I really, really want to play Arkansas in this spot, especially just spot alone with Florida coming off that huge. I mean, Florida went on the road to Kentucky, scored 100 points, loses that game. Then they come home at Tennessee, and obviously a smash spot for them, and they perform really well. Like we just talked about, they won by 30. But at the same time, I just don't know if I can still lay in that spot. I don't know if I can lay multiple possessions to a Florida team that the only other true road games that they played was Florida State, who's absolutely terrible, and obviously that Kentucky game that we just talked about. So again, is Arkansas that great of a basketball team? No, not really. But at the same time, they've played pretty decent competition to start the year in the conference play. And on the fact that I feel like one thing that Florida gets on teams is that they like to get up and down the floor. Arkansas likes to do that as well. And I do think that Arkansas's defense can match up with Florida. It's just the fact that I don't know if Arkansas can rebound with Florida. And I think that's going to be the huge issue here. It's not that Florida's a much bigger team. It's just that Arkansas just doesn't have the dog in them, or whatever expression that you want to use, but they just don't rebound very well, especially on the offensive side. And that's where Florida really, really pushes or punishes people. They're one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the country, and they're one of the best defensive rebounding teams in the country. So it would be Florida or pass for me. I didn't bet this game. Like I said, I really, really wanted to try to find a way to get to Arkansas. Maybe they play well after a couple of lulls here against Tennessee and Mississippi, but at the same time, it's not a step down in class. And again, besides the spot from Florida having a fantastic game at home and now on the road, it's all Florida for me.
Someone asked, Kyle, how do you feel about alternate lines? I mean, in large majority of cases, it's not going to be smart to do that. In 95% of cases, I mean, it comes down to math. If you, instead of 3.5, if you buy it down to 3, a lot of times you're giving away 15% of your winnings for a half point. You're only going to need 9% of the time. It's just bad math. And you don't really notice it when you're winning because, hey, I won. Who cares? I won. You don't really notice that you just gave away 15% of your winnings, but that shit adds up over time. So the 1 and 2 extra wins or pushes you buy yourself aren't worth all the amount of winnings you're giving away in the meantime leading up to that. So to answer your question, Scoop.
Most times, if teams cover, they cover. It doesn't matter if you got 3 or 3.5
right.
or 4. Usually, I mean, again, you can find
right. Well, so like, say it's plus 4.5 for Arkansas, and you're like, oh no, I want 5. Okay, so you let's say you give away 8% of your winnings to get that 5. It's 8% of your winnings. If it only lands on 3% of the time, then it's just bad math. Yeah, every once in a while you're going to get a push when you should have got a loss. Okay, yeah, it does win sometimes, but over the long run, it costs you more money than it makes. Scoop.
You're done? Let's go back to college basketball.
I was sorry. I was too busy being an educator.
That's all right. Everyone was hyping up the Hogs because Calipari, is going to be awesome. I mean, just relax a little. Maybe next year or later. This team sucks. I don't care what you're saying. They'll start to click next year, the year after. I'm not saying they're bad. They'll probably still make the tournament. I'm not betting against Florida. Arkansas is 1-4 against ranked teams. Their only one win was against Michigan. I don't even think they're ranked anymore. Really, Arkansas is an above-average team. They're nothing special. I think many people thought their offense would be a lot better than they are. They're not clicking right now. For a lot of people, this is going to be a letdown spot. I'm not that person. Beating a number 1 team and by 30 and then headed on the road. You know by now how Florida's wins. That's kind of what Toe says. That's by rebounding. They're second in the nation in rebounding margin. Only Illinois is better. You saw Chinyelu grab 15 against Tennessee. Florida's in the top 5 for offensive rebounds. Arkansas is 309th. A lot of their opportunities down the court is one and done. That's not going to change here. Against Tennessee, Arkansas was out-rebounded by 22. Florida's better than that. Boogie Flam looked good until they started playing against SEC teams. Now he's struggling a bit. And Florida's bench should also outplay Arkansas too. Martin, Richard, Clayton, all of them are more physical than Arkansas. The Hogs are just struggling to find points. They were against Ole Miss and Tennessee. Those aren't bad defenses at all. They're great, but Florida's a better defense than both of them, arguably. So Arkansas gets most of its points in the paint. Florida's one of the top teams in defending the rim. I would love to take 5.5 for what it was at home, but Florida's size and rebounding should be too much. I don't think Arkansas is going to put up a lot of points here.
Someone said the only exception is buying 3 in NFL. That's almost the opposite of the that's what you don't want to do. They charge you like 30 cents to buy from 3.5 to 3. That shit's expensive as hell. You've given away 30% of your winnings to get a 3 instead of a 2.5. Yeah, so don't do that. All right, let's move on to the next one.
It's just you're not big Hogs today this year.
Everyone was taking Florida in that one, by the way. Poll all over Florida. You guys both like Florida. Next up, Tennessee on the road in Austin. Toast, I know you went back to the Horns here.
Oh, I went right back to him.
That was an awesome comeback. It was fun to watch. I watched the whole second half of that.
Yeah, Scoop, do you have a play in this one or no? I can go. I was just curious. I just didn't know if you had a play in this one.
Yeah, I'm the complete opposite of you.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. So this is basically how is Tennessee going to respond to an ass kicking by 30 points? The look ahead line was actually 11, which was funny last week. Now it's down to 5. Florida,
it's at 4 in some spots now.
So Florida, I'm going with the road favorite. Just a fun fact about the last game: Tennessee had 12 field goals in Florida against Florida. 12.
Wait, in the game?
Yeah.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, they did. So 21% from the field.
They
That's
did.
Really
they were 8 for 27 from 2, 4 for 29 from deep.
So Andy would say Ziegler is a terrible guard. I can see that. But I won't trust him against top competition. I don't think Texas is that yet, though. Tennessee isn't the best offense at all. They're not even a top 30 offense, but they're going to play a lot better than they did against Florida. I mean, it's going to be hard not to. For one, Texas isn't anything like Florida. For one, they're not close to the same rebounding team, so Tennessee should get back to their solid play down low. Chaz Lanier is going to have a better shooting performance here. I can't see him going 1 for 9 again, even though Texas does have a solid perimeter defense. This is actually a rematch from last year's NCAA tournament. The funny thing with Texas is they are a really good three-point shooting team. They're actually the best three-point shooting team in the SEC, but they also have the least amount of three-pointers in the SEC attempted. So I'm trusting Tennessee in a bounce back spot here. The Florida game was a test, but I feel like it's going to be more of an outlier. They're usually a 16-11 assist-to-turnover ratio. They were 6 assists, 12 turnovers against Florida. Texas doesn't have a quad 1 win this season. They're 0-4 in the season. I think the majority is going to be on Texas here. I just like Tennessee here. I like to prove that they're still a top 5 team. They're just an all-around great team. I find it hard to see how they're only a 5-point favorite on the road, but Toast will let me know why.
Well, they're 4 now, so that's part of it. You mentioned Chaz Lanier. Again, I'm not trying to take shots at this kid, but he's coming over from North Florida, and he had a really big game against Arkansas. But I think that when we start to get into the depths of SEC play, I think that all these gaudy numbers that he's put up to start the year are going to be a little bit of fool's gold. So maybe I'm wrong there. We'll find out. But I just see a Tennessee team that obviously it's looked really, really good. I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but haven't really played anybody that they've played a very good schedule, but over the last month, I mean, that Illinois win was great, but I mean, Western Carolina, Middle Tennessee, Norfolk, Arkansas, who's terrible. And then they play that Florida game. And I know that Texas isn't playing anybody special, but Texas, the last 2 games played Texas A&M and Auburn. And if there's one thing about both of those teams that they both, especially Auburn and Texas A&M, they both play defense. They're both top 20 defenses in the country, and I think that helps them. Helps this Texas team a lot facing this Tennessee team that's obviously one of the best defensive teams in the country. But at the same time, I mean, I don't feel like Tennessee's going to be able to outrun this Texas team. I think that Texas is going to be just fine playing at the pace that Tennessee wants to play. I feel like Texas matches up with them height wise. Texas doesn't do a great job of rebounding. I'll give you that. But at the same time, I don't really know what to expect from this Tennessee team matched up against a team that can match up with them with height wise. Also, the one thing that I think that really helps me a lot here is that Texas can shoot the 3 ball. They're shooting almost 40% from deep as a team. That's top 10 in the country. And I think that's only going to bode well for them here at home today, because you got to remember, I just feel like I don't feel like they looked as bad against Auburn as people made it seem. I think that in the first 10 minutes of that game they got slapped in the face, but after that, I mean, it was a very, very close game. Obviously, they ended up losing that game by 5, but they were 10.5-point dogs in that game. And like I said, besides the first 10 minutes of that game, that was a very, very competitive game. So if you can play competitive at home against Auburn, and then you don't have to travel after, even I understand that Tennessee got embarrassed, but you don't have to travel, and now you're playing a Tennessee team. I think I got Texas at 5.5. I think there's a reason it's at 4 now. I think this game is a very, very close game. I honestly believe that Tennessee is just a little bit overvalued right now. There's nothing besides the Illinois win that looks really, really impressive. There's nothing that they've really done to impress me. I guess the Baylor win is good too. Sure. But at the same time, beating Louisville on the road in the second game of the year doesn't really mean anything to me. I'm not a believer in this Tennessee team. I guess it's just that simple for me.
Yeah, I mean, this line's down to 4 now. I would have to agree with Scoop. I mean, this game tips off in 7 hours.
You not bet it last night with me?
No, I didn't. I forgot. But now that it's down to 4,
bet Tennessee. Put Tennessee up on your team.
If there's a 3.5 available for tip, I'm in. I'm on the Vols with Scoop. Let's move on to the next one. We got 3 games left, then we're doing NFL.
Can everybody hear and see each other? Because it looks like you momentarily dropped off the screen.
I'm good.
No, we're good.
Okay.
Someone says, Wesker said, where is it? Imagine being able to wake up every day and work with an angel like Prop Beaver. What a life. You try sitting next to him for 50 hours a week and then saying that.
You should hear him. You should hear him off the air.
Oklahoma on the road at Georgia. Georgia looked impressive in their last one. 6.5 seems a bit pricey, if you ask me. But
I would agree with that.
Sooners. Oh wait, didn't Sooners? Oh no, Sooners blew a lead in their last one.
Yeah, they were up by like 10 and like 5 minutes left.
Wow. Yeah, the Sooners took my soul away their last game. I thought that was an absolute smash spot, and they folded like a lawn chair. I don't have a bet in this game. Scoop, do you have a bet in this game? I thought this line was I couldn't even figure out. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I bet the over in this game. Oklahoma's coming off 2 straight losses. That A&M was a rough one at home. Like I just said, they had that game won pretty much all day. I was saying I love that Georgia beat Kentucky. It was awesome. I know Andy would have loved that. Best Georgia team in a long time. I didn't know what to do here for a side like you. I feel like 6.5 is way too much. It was Oklahoma's first 2 losses of the year. I know the Bama game was by 30, but I wanted to take Georgia, especially because I feel like they need this one because of their schedule. After this game, they play Tennessee, Auburn, Florida, back to back. So it's a really rough stretch for them. This and Arkansas are going to be their 2 easier games, but I like points here. Oklahoma scored on tougher teams: 87 against Michigan, 82 against Arizona, 78 in that loss against A&M last game. And with Georgia, I know their offense sputters at time, but they just came off an 82-point game against Kentucky. I do feel like this line's a bit much in an overreaction to that Kentucky game. So, and plus Oklahoma's just had a tougher road so far. And if this game is close late, I mean, Oklahoma's 6th in the country in free throw percentage. They're shooting 81%. Turnovers cost him in that A&M game. They pretty much shot lights out other than that. So with the turnovers, that may lead to easy buckets for Georgia. Georgia hasn't lost a game at home yet. This is obviously their strongest team yet and their strongest test yet next to Kentucky. But both offenses definitely have the chance to go off. Oklahoma's played tougher teams. I think this should be a back-and-forth team. And if I was taking a side, I would take Oklahoma just because I think this line's a little too much.
Yeah, put Oklahoma up for me.
I literally just bet Oklahoma plus 7.5 on BetMGM.
That's what I'm saying. It's at 7.5 now. I'm in. I'll do it too.
Just absolutely ridiculous. I 100% agree with Scoop. I think this is a little bit of an overreaction with this Georgia team after that Kentucky game, which they looked really, really good. But keep in mind, the game before that, they scored 50 points on the road against Mississippi. So I do think that Oklahoma can present some of the same problems, especially defensively. I do trust Oklahoma defensively. But the reason that I would bet this game is I don't like the spot for Georgia coming off that big win. Second of all, they're facing an Oklahoma defense that can really turn you over. And if there's one thing that Georgia has issues with, is getting down in their half-court sets and not turning the ball over. They can rebound, but they turn the ball over at one of the highest rates in the country. That could solve a lot. That could have a lot of problems against this Oklahoma defense. Not to mention the fact that I don't think that Georgia's going to have to live inside here. They're a much better team, and they could possibly do that. But they're probably not going to hit any threes because Oklahoma doesn't let teams hit 3 on them. So there's a chance that, and not to mention the fact that Oklahoma is one of the better 3-point shooting teams in the country. The Georgia defense has been fantastic as well, but Oklahoma is just as good, if not. Actually, I do think they're a much better 3-point shooting team, and they're a way better free throw shooting team. Oklahoma, one of the best free throw shooting teams in the country. So if this game is even somewhat close late, having 7.5 points in your pocket is kind of just too much for me to pass up. Not to mention the fact that both teams should be able to rebound a little bit. Oklahoma has had some dulls defensively, but I think some of those numbers just because of the low possessions. But regardless, I just thought that 7.5 was way too many for this Oklahoma State team. Which again, because Georgia's going to probably try to slow this game down, which only kind of helps to me. So it's Oklahoma for me.
Cool. Let's move on to the next one.
Boomer Sooner.
Alabama, Texas A&M. Alabama's catching 3.5.
No.
Yeah.
Hey, correct me if I'm wrong. There should be 1,000 points scored in this game.
1,000. I was thinking like 990, but yeah, I mean it's pretty close.
I mean, well, you said and Bama's catching 2.5.
Well, both these teams can score.
A&M's catching 2.5.
Both these teams can score. Neither have a particularly great defense. Both run at a decent pace. Why shouldn't we just blindly bet it over? 159.5 isn't that crazy.
I mean, it's not crazy. I think that Texas A&M is going to try to slow this game down as much as possible.
And Bama's having problems shooting from the outside right now.
I mean, so, I mean,
anyway,
Alabama. Go ahead. Yeah. I was just
put over up for me.
I'm on A&M. Bama started off a little slow. They struggled to get by teams, but this winning streak, obviously, they came alive. But they weren't exactly the best teams that Bama's playing right now, except for Oklahoma. This is going to be a really tough test for them. This is actually the hardest opponent for both sides. Mark Sears still hasn't clicked, I feel, compared to last year. It's definitely a more down year for him, but if you watch him, obviously, he can go off at any time. This is a hard game to pick. It's just because Wade Taylor's out for A&M, and obviously that's their best player. So, I mean, Zarek Phillips stepped up last game. He dominated. He has to do that again. But, I mean, Nate Oates is good against Bama. They're 3-2 the last 5. The issue for Bama here is going to be their inability to shoot inside. I'm not saying they're not good at it. They're great. But Texas A&M's whole defense, they want you to shoot from the perimeter. They're actually giving up one of the most shot rates from 3. The thing with Bama, though, is unlike last year, they can't shoot from 3. They're shooting 32%, which is in the 200s nationally. And if you see A&M's rebounding, they're the best offensive rebounding team in the nation. They're getting over 40% of their missed shots, which is insane, which is creating a bunch of second chance opportunities, which Kyle said, I mean, if they keep doing that, it's going to go over. A&M's covering at a great pace this season. They're 10-4-1 on the season. I know Bama hasn't scored under 80 points in a couple months, but like Toe said, I think A&M's going to slow this game down. They're 8-2 at home, and right now this is the first ranked conference opponent Bama will face. It's a big game. Even though A&M's sloppy with the ball, Bama doesn't press. They're a really conservative defense. They don't create turnovers at all. So obviously I would love Taylor to be in this game, but I think it's a well-rounded team without him. I definitely think they're better than I thought they were in the beginning of the season when they lost to UCF, which is in Florida, Steez, if you're listening. I love the way they're playing. I think they can win this one outright. As long as it stays over possession, I would definitely take I bet it at 3.5, so I would take him with 3.5.
Did you see we got another Steez told you messages last night? Like Steez will come in after a game's over, be like, "Told you, Cavs, we're gonna." When he never even said that, just like I told you of something you didn't even say. So there's no Wade Taylor in this game, but they do have Joy Taylor. So
Joy Taylor. Taylor.
Joy will be out there backing it up. Are you on the over the under in this game?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Over. But I didn't bet it.
All right, Poughkeepsie. Well, I just heard that Scoop's entire analysis was that this was a conservative, slow it down team.
You think my wagers would be weighted on Scoop's analysis? You think my wagers are impacted by Scoop's analysis?
I mean, if
No.
you had any,
it depends. Really, it depends on the day. Sometimes you're like, you know what, Scoop, that's a great point, and I actually really want to bet that. Today's obviously not.
I've never said that, Scoop. That's a great point. I've never said that.
I'm going to go through the.
Go find it. I've never uttered that phrase ever. If that was sent in the Discord, it was from someone else operating on my account.
No,
Next
it is
game
on the show, and you're like, shut up. Damn it. Fuck.
What's
Just for the
next?
record, I lean Alabama in that game. I think that Alabama's going to have a lot of opportunities to shoot from deep, and if they're even somewhat on, it's going to be a long night. So I didn't bet it though.
Next,
Sitting the next 3 hours looking for a YouTube show where you're like, you know what, that's a good point.
Kentucky, Mississippi State. Was Kentucky laying 5.5 here? I'm good. What do you guys like here?
I like the Avengers here. What about you, Scoop? Are you with me?
Yeah, I would lean Kentucky here. I'm not entirely confident. The thing with Kentucky is their shooting. I mean, when they're on, they can beat anyone in the country, and when they're terrible, like against Georgia, when they shot 6 for 25 from 3, it's going to be hard to do anything, really. It's not like they have a good defense, so if their shots are falling, they're always in for a rough game. Kentucky's 0 for 3 when they don't score 70 points, and 12-0 when they do. It seems like that's the mark to get to. I know I jokingly talk shit about the SEC, but they really are the most dominant conference this year by far. Every single game, you're playing a top echelon team. Both like to play in transition, but as much as Kentucky's half-court defense is pretty bad, they're actually solid in transition. The same with Mississippi State. And while Mississippi State shuts down the interior, they're actually one of the best in the country in doing that. Kentucky is due for just positive regression shooting. They're really holding onto the ball. They played so sloppy with that Georgia game. They had an 18% turnover rate, which is terrible. I believe Kentucky can win on the road, a game on the road. And no offense to Mississippi State, talent-wise, Kentucky is a far better team. I know so far they're really failing on the road this season, which is a loss to Clemson and a loss to Georgia. And if they can't beat teams like that away, they're not going to beat Tennessee, Ole Miss, Alabama when they travel there either. But I feel like this line is giving a lot of respect to Mississippi State when their best win might have been Memphis. The Kentucky team is still top 20 in assists, rebounds, still a top 10 offense. So, yeah, Mississippi State is a great team so far, but this was 6 last night. I would definitely take 6 on the road for Kentucky.
It sounds like Toast is with you.
Yeah, I took the 6 with Kentucky as well. I agree with everything that Scoop said. I love the point about Memphis being Mississippi State's only their best win. Keep in mind, this team also lost. Mississippi State lost to Butler. That's all you really need to know. But at the same time, I feel like the step up in competition for Mississippi State is a pretty drastic one. I've been on them their last 2 games. They were only I think a 1.5 point favorite against Vanderbilt. They were like 14 or 15 against South Carolina. Both those games, they won pretty easily. But first of all, like I said, I hate the spot for Mississippi State jumping up in class after playing, really nobody the month of December. That Memphis game, sure, but Prairie View A&M, McNeese, Central Michigan, Bethman, Cookman. Sorry, I just got cooked on my own thing right there. But regardless, and then they have Auburn on deck, which is not a spot that I like. And then you're playing a Kentucky team that since the month of December has played teams like Clemson, Gonzaga, Louisville, Ohio State, Florida, Georgia. Again, you can poke holes in those teams for sure, but the competition that Kentucky has played compared to Mississippi State is a pretty big difference. So the only way that I see Kentucky having issues in this game is unless they're just completely ice cold from deep, or regardless, just shooting in general. Because I do think that the Kentucky, obviously the Mississippi State defense is a little bit better than Kentucky's for sure. But I do think that with Kentucky's size, they're should be able to neutralize Mississippi State, because Mississippi State does a lot of their work from inside. They don't really like to shoot threes. Not to mention Kentucky's one of the best teams in the country defending the 3. And then as far as offensively is concerned, Kentucky obviously one of the best offenses in the country. I don't think anybody needs me to tell me that. And I feel like Mississippi State's offense is just a little bit overrated with some of the bad teams that they've played. Kentucky has a huge height advantage, and they're also one of the most experienced teams in the country. So I can get behind a team like Kentucky, especially when they're on the road with that experience. So I think they got embarrassed against Georgia. I don't think they ever had a chance with Andy going out. And I think this is a great bounce back here for the Avengers.
You mean to tell me the whole world's betting Kentucky? They're sitting at 5.5 strong as dogs against Mississippi State. So it's Mississippi State bet.
Then put it up under your name.
Put it up.
You want some Mississippi State? You fucking.
I want some Bulldogs.
Fucking dude.
I know we're talking football next, and I know this is about tomorrow, but if this doesn't make you put all your money on Denver, Sean Payton is 30-12 against bald-headed coaches since he started in the league. So
yeah, hold on.
It's a good hit rate.
Did you actually take the time to? Is that?
Yeah, I actually it was a tweet, and I actually looked back at his bald-headed coaches, foray, and
so what was that record?
30-12 against bald-headed coaches.
30-12 against bald-headed coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So Denver.
It's compelling.
Yep. That doesn't make you bet it. I don't know what it will. So.
All right. Let's move on to the it's NFL time. Let's talk some NFL.
See ya.
All right, let's bring Jabo on.
Steve is here.
Hi, Steve.
And I'm excited. I'm especially excited because Prop Beaver doesn't like one of Steve's bets.
Oh, great.
Here we go again. We had to start it off like that.
I'm just letting everyone know what I was excited about.
Listen, the crowd likes.
You've been waiting for this moment.
The crowd likes tension. The crowd likes.
I mean, we got a head-to-head graphic today.
No,
Not exactly head-to-head,
we
though.
don't really have a head-to-head, but let's just say we have a disagreement of opinions. And let's just say Lamar. I don't think MV3 is showing up today, and I feel like you do. So.
Okay.
I also feel like we should make a graphic of a belt, and so if they're on the line, we can put the
Well,
graphic
yeah,
up, like,
because
on the bottom.
Minsky had the belt up on the line last
something
night.
like that. Yeah.
All right,
Anyway.
so you guys probably already know how I feel about these games, but a brief summary. You can get Chargers minus 2.5 right now. They're expensive, but you can get them. The angle I feel most comfortable here, put the Texans team total under up for me.
Okay.
Because if you put a gun to my head and said, give me one bet you think's going to win in this game, I would say this one. Houston team total under, I did bet this at 20.5. Chargers defense solid across the board, and specifically what they've been excelling at as of late, it should be a problem for the Texans. The Chargers are actually first in the NFL since this is crazy. I had to double check this. So since week 15, the Chargers are actually first in the NFL in time to pressure, meaning that Chargers pass rush has been kind of stale for a lot of this year. The second half of the year, they've come on, and in the last month, this pass rush is looking good. And it's not like, oh, that's crazy to believe. They got Bosa, they got Mack, and they got that other guy. I can't remember his name. They got a third edge rusher, too. So the Chargers have talent in terms of pressuring the quarterback, and it finally seems to be coming together right now. Chargers pass rush looks really good. They're matched up against Houston, who, I mean, talk about the Houston offensive line. It feels like we're picking on somebody with special needs. I mean, they've had problems all year. They can't create space in the run game. And more importantly, they can't protect C.J. Stroud. They're missing the right guard in this game as well, so they're missing a piece. And this Chargers defensive line is going to be able to get some immediate should be able to get some immediate pressure on C.J. Stroud in this game. And the reason that's such a huge factor to me is the angle I would like for Houston. If I was to take a Houston +3, the angle I would like is C.J. Stroud to throw the ball deep on the Chargers secondary, because that's what the Chargers have been susceptible this year to big plays through the air, explosive plays through the air. So I think C.J. Stroud, a quarterback that likes to air it out, it's like a decent matchup. He can make some big plays on this Chargers secondary, but it's impossible to count on that happening if we're not seeing C.J. Stroud getting many clean pockets in this game, not to mention, obviously, the injuries to the Houston receivers. So the only angle I would like for the Houston offense is that matchup of C.J. Stroud throwing it downfield on the Chargers. It's kind of negated by the pass rush. So, I mean, you take that out, and it's like, what are we really expecting the Texans to do here? Yeah, I'm sure Mixon will be able to move the chains a little bit. The Chargers' run defense hasn't been all that elite, and Houston has been running the ball a little bit. The success rate looks pretty terrible, but so maybe Houston's able to move the chains a little bit on the ground, at least try to compete in the field position battle. But as far as sustaining drives and getting the ball down the field consistently in this one, not seeing it on the Houston side. But the reason I'm so hesitant to lay it with the Chargers, even though that's the side I would be on, and I do have a Chargers -3 bet. I did take it, but like, do I actually think it's a great bet? Probably no, not really. But I would like a 2.5 more than the 3 at -102 I got. But the reason I'm a little hesitant is on the Chargers side, I think there's concerns there as well. This Houston defense is finally healthy. And the defensive front seven, you know that we haven't seen the Houston Texans defensive front seven healthy together once this year. This is the first time this entire season that the front seven for Houston is all together. Now, that's assuming Christian Harris plays. He's listed as questionable, but I think he is going to play. So we're talking about a run defense that we all consider to be top 5, maybe top 3 in the NFL, all healthy together for the first time this year. I don't expect the Chargers to run the ball in this game, even with a healthy Dobbins, even with a healthy Gus Edwards. It's going to be a struggle for the Chargers to run the ball in this one, which means it's on Justin Herbert to cover a 3-point line on the road using his arm. Not saying he's not capable. He's been playing really well, but the Houston pass rush is some serious shit, and Justin Herbert has a tendency to take sacks. It's going to be hard to lay a full 3 on the road if your drives are getting stalled out via sacks. So I'm a little hesitant. I do have a Chargers -3 bet if you want to put it as my second one up there. Probably just doing a little bit of gambling with that one, if I'm being honest. I think you needed to get a 2.5, which I think Steve got a 2.5, by the way. But yeah, that's how I feel about the game. It's as far as the 6 wildcard games, this would be one of the ones I don't feel very strongly about. But yeah, that's how I personally feel. Steve, I know you got a Chargers -2.5, I believe, right?
Yeah, I do. And actually, just to kind of go off what you said, I was battling between that Texans team total under and the Chargers -2.5. I got it -118. You can put -3 up if you want. That is my best bet. But in kind of what Kyle said, he's obviously leaning towards an under in general in the game. But the total is gone now. I think it was 44.5. Now it's down to 42 or something like that. So that's why I stayed away from an under overall. But Chargers, he kind of said a lot of it. CJ Stroud has just struggled in general all year. He struggled versus winning teams. He's 1-6 versus teams with a winning record right now. The Texans versus current playoff teams, they're 1-5. This team just does not beat good teams, including losing to the Ravens by 29, Vikings by 27. You guys have heard all the numbers and seen it, but they've won 9 of their 10 games have been against pretty bad teams. So their O-line is a big problem. Last season on deep passes, CJ Stroud, 9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. This season, 5 TDs, 7 picks. He has completely regressed, and some of that is, like Kyle said, the offensive line has just been atrocious. And for me, it's hard to back a team that has struggled all year, does not have a good offensive line, and expect them to do something here in this game. But I do think it's going to be a lower scoring game on both sides for the most part. But Chargers also play a lot of too high defense, the third most in the NFL. Stroud is 31st in adjusted net yards per attempt, 31st in catchable throw rate. He has struggled versus too high. He wants to push the ball down the field. Obviously, they're down all their weapons. I mean, it's Nico Collins, and that's it. But the problem with that is the Chargers are top 5 defense versus number 1 wide receivers. They're bottom 5 versus number 2 wide receivers. But again, we're talking Mechie, which last I saw he was questionable. He is the number 2 receiver. So I like the Chargers. They have a balanced attack. I do think it is going to be a little tough, obviously, against this Texans defense. But I just think they're going to be able to get the job done. Obviously, you got Jim Harbaugh on that side as well. But being on the road doesn't affect me much either. Chargers 7-2 ATS on the road. I just think the Chargers are the better team. It might be one of those 20-14 type grinded out type of games. I just cannot trust CJ Stroud. I like Harbaugh on the other side. I think they're going to take away his number 1 weapon. So I got the Chargers -2.5, but I know it's 3 right now. So if you just want to throw Chargers -3, that's fine. But I like that Texans team total under just as much. I like the under in the total in the full game. It got under 43, which, is kind of a key number. If it goes 23-20, you lose on the under. So that's where I stand on the game. But my best bet probably in this game is Nico Collins, under 6.5 receptions. He's under this line in 8 of 12 games already, and 2 of his only 4 overs were against the Jacksonville Jaguars. That doesn't count. They're like dead last in pass defense. He's averaging 5.7 catches per game on only 8.3 targets per game. 8.3 targets, and we're getting a 6.5 receptions line. He's had 6 or less targets in 3 of the last 4. So he hasn't even had enough targets to go over this line. So it's going to be hard for him to get 7, obviously. But the matchup, Chargers are giving up the 10th fewest receptions to the wide receiver. We talked about how they defend the number 1 wide receiver. But Nico Collins has also struggled versus too high safety. First read rate goes from 34.2 down to 23.3. Targets per route run down from 28% to 22% versus too high. And then I just think this Chargers defense, I think they're going to be completely focused on Nico Collins. I think that's Jim Harbaugh's plan. Derwin James and these boys, I think, are going to be able to slow him down. And like I said, if Mechie plays, I don't mind Mechie over receiving yards as the number 2 wide receiver. But I know Collins is a stud. He may catch 1 or 2 deep balls. He can go 5 for 180,000 yards. I don't care. I just don't think he's catching 7 balls. So, and then like Kyle said, exactly, the Chargers are going to get some pressure on CJ Stroud. It's going to be hard to hit Nico Collins down the field if he's getting pressure. Not going to have as many chances. Unless the Texans is all of a sudden, and it's the playoffs. You never know in the playoffs. Sometimes things change. Maybe they change it up and just try to get Nico Collins some screen passes and all that. But that's just not the kind of guy he is. But unless they, change it up, I just don't see him going over. So I love Nico under 6.5 receptions. I like Kyle's Texans team total under. I like the Chargers. So it's all thing Chargers for me.
I actually have a third bet, and I got CLV on it. It's a prop. I actually forgot about this one, and I did place it too. A half unit, like nothing. You guys know I'm not the biggest prop guy, but I do have a prop in this game, and I got 2 yards of CLV prop. Beaver, take notes. Quentin Johnston. I don't have a graphic though. I literally forgot all about it till Steve was just talking just now. Quentin Johnston over 43.5 receiving yards. It's at 45.5 now. CLV king over here. So no, Quentin Johnson significantly better numbers against. I'll be quick. Quentin Johnson's significantly better numbers against zone coverage. I mean, his numbers against man coverage are terrible this year. And you would think a guy like that, like a freak athlete, 6'5", 6'6", however tall he is, that'd be a guy that'd be a nightmare cover for man coverage. But that's not what his numbers show this year. He's actually struggled against man coverage. Justin Herbert has a 144 passer rating when targeting Quentin Johnston in zone coverage. So I mean, his numbers are excellent against zone coverage. Houston's been running a lot of zone coverage. Not to mention, Quentin Johnston been a much bigger part of the offense these last handful of games, averaging close to 70 yards per game in the last 5. He just went off against the Raiders. He's getting he's getting exactly 9 targets per game in their last 5 compared to like 4.5 in the 5 games before that. So he's definitely getting the football thrown his way a lot more. So I did place this as for a half unit if anyone's trying to get down on a prop.
All right.
I just want to say real quick, it is awesome to just listen to you break down a prop. There's just something, I don't know, it feels good.
Yeah. It's like watching Tom Brady play golf.
Yeah, so the comments, I mean, we've got divide in comments. I mean, a lot of the people love the Chargers just like us. I mean, who the hell doesn't love the Chargers? I mean, simply put, the Chargers, in my opinion, are the much better team here. The Texans just flat out look like dog shit. Ever since Stephon Diggs went down, this offense is flat out horrendous, and even the defense starting to show signs of worry. And then we got the Sharps in the comments saying Vegas is going to win big here, yada, yada, yada. I mean, college football playoffs, we saw the public win big, and I just simply put think the public is going to win big again here with the Chargers. My favorite bet in this game is the under. I know it's down to 41.5, which is still, I mean, that's pretty goddamn low here with Justin Herbert and CJ Stroud. I would still play it at that number. Let me get into this. I guess from a positive angle, talking about the Chargers bet, Chargers offense leans more on those gap concepts. Texas defense far less successful defending those, so I like that for the run game. And then since week 10, Texas offense has leaned a lot more on zone. Herbert is significantly better across the board against zone, a guy who goes from 7th in yards per attempt against zone to 29th against man. On top of that, 3rd in pass rating against zone to 20th against man. We just saw Herbert, his last 3 games, carve up some man-heavy defenses. Now he's going to face a zone defense. I mean, I can only imagine what he's about to do here. And then before that, before facing a meaningless Week 18 defense against that battered Titans secondary, the Texas offense, as I mentioned, they've just looked so bad. I mean, the yards per play is dramatically down, success rate dramatically down, went from a negative 6.3 DVOA, which is already pretty bad with Diggs, to negative 22%. That's one of the worst in all of football. Meanwhile, weakest part of this Chargers defense has been defending the deep ball all year, as JABO alluded to. I mean, CJ Stroud just can't throw the deep ball last year. One of the best deep ball throwers in all of the NFL last year. This is a guy who has a D passer rating in terms of our rubric against the deep ball this year. So I just don't believe that he could do that against a too high, because yes, CJ Stroud also, as Jabo mentioned, the dude is flat out horrendous against too high. 30th in passer rating, 26th in yards per attempt, 32nd in completion percentage. Chargers run it at the 2nd highest rate in the league. Add in the fact that this Chargers defense is lights out on the road compared to at home. And I think the matchup for CJ Stroud is honestly one of the worst he could possibly face. The other thing that makes me do lean towards a bit of an under, though, more so than I guess a Chargers -3, is the fact that Herbert also likes to attack the deep area of the field. Well, the Texans defense, they're the 3rd best deep ball defense, so you got to give them better credence there. On top of that, this Texans defense at home, significantly better than on the road. They did shut Jared Goff down at home. They shut down Josh Allen. They shut down Tua Tagovailoa. Now, Lamar Jackson was able to come in and perform well at Houston, but that game still went under. I mean, Ravens scored 30 points in the game. Texans only scored 2. So I think we could still have room for the Chargers having a decent offensive performance in this game, and the Texans completely shit the bed, and we have a Chargers cover and an under in this one. So those are the 2 bets I went with in this one. I know the Chargers are public as hell. I know the line hasn't moved all that much. Is that definitely scary? Also, something we haven't mentioned is the fact that there were the fires in LA. I mean, I believe their practice time was cut in half this week. But from the reports I were reading, they were pretty satisfactory with what they got done. So they have a Y this week. They're playing for, I guess, their city. I'm still rolling with the Chargers.
Couple comments are funny. So first of all, when I said it's like watching Tom Brady play golf, the Toast's face looked like he was utterly disappointed and shameful to be next to me on screen when I said that. And someone said in the comments, more like Tom Brady broadcasting, and I thought that was kind of funny.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. All right, Toast. Are you, and I look, I get it. The whole basically the to summarize all the comments, the whole world's betting the Chargers. I don't like it. It's what they're all saying, and I'm not saying I disagree with you. Whole world bet Ohio State last night as well. Mm-hmm. Toast.
Cameron Dicker over 7.5 kicking points. Keep on laughing. I'm just gonna keep walking to the bank. They know me by name at this point. First of all, I just want to say to you guys' underpoint, I kind of like that because, like, if you take a look at some of these lines, and I know you guys are going to laugh, but Fairbairn to kick over 2 field goals is essentially minus 160, or over 1.5 is minus 160. But his kicking points is 7.5 at plus 100. So that tells me that the books don't think that Houston's going to be scoring very many touchdowns. If he ends up kicking 3 field goals, so be it. But Cameron Dicker over 1.5 field goals is minus 160. His kicking points are 7.5 minus 120. That tells me that the books feel like the Chargers should score here. And if the Chargers can just move the field, maul it downfield just a little bit, Dicker can kick from 50 plus, especially it's indoors. I'll take my chances, and I'm probably going to sprinkle the Texans just because
To fade the world.
Yeah, it just feels too good not to.
Such a cuck move.
Yeah, you're really a sick fuck.
You know how I do.
Listen,
do you just open up sports books on NFL Sunday and be like, just look at all kickers or all week? Is that all you do? Just special teams props? Okay.
I do actually. Yeah.
Someone
You've
said
been good at it. You've been good.
Someone
no
said
one has their fingers.
Someone said neither of these teams have beaten a playoff team besides the Texans with one win against the Bills. It's incorrect. The Chargers beat the Broncos twice.
Twice, yes.
Next up,
I do remember that.
Now we get to listen to Prop Beaver and Steve debate. I'm going to throw in a piece of Nicorette gum, and I'm going to chill. So the debate is about Lamar Jackson's performance in this game. They both have Lamar Jackson props. One is positive and one is negative. Yes. So, all right, who wants to go first? Should I flip a coin?
Let's let our guest go first. I'm a man of chivalry.
I feel like going second is an advantage, though.
What do you mean? I just talk. They don't want to hear me talk.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I'm going to say before either one of them says anything, I'm tailing Jabo.
Yeah.
Okay, lay the juice. Sick fuck.
All right, so Steve is the one that has a positive Lamar Jackson bet here.
All right, so I'll start out with that one then. So my bet in this one is Lamar Jackson over 1.5 passing touchdowns. I don't usually go this juicy. This bet I got for minus 140. It's ugly, but I think it should be like minus 190, minus 200. He's an absolute touchdown machine. 2024 numbers, he's over this in 6 straight, over in 12 of 14 games. It's just an insane hit rate here. At home, he's over this in 5 straight, 6 of 8 games. They just scored 34 versus this Pitt team. Do I think they're going to score 34? I don't know. They could very well. Obviously, playoffs tighten up a little bit, but he's going to have plenty of chances. Pittsburgh 10th in passing TDs allowed. It doesn't really matter to me much. We just saw Lamar throw 3 passing touchdowns against Pittsburgh a few weeks ago, and that was only on 23 pass attempts. 3 of his 23 touchdowns. 5 of the last 6 quarterbacks that have faced Pittsburgh has thrown for 2 or more touchdowns, so it hasn't been hard. It's really just a straightforward one for me. I think the Ravens are going to be able to move the ball here. Even if they just move the ball on the ground the whole time and Lamar doesn't do much, that's fine. Just need him to throw some touchdowns. I don't know how you can fade this bet, honestly. He's been doing it practically every single week. And like I said, it's just a touchdown prop. I really think this should be minus 190, minus 200. He's been doing it just every single week. He's now the favorite, I think, to win the MVP this year for a reason. So I love Lamar to go over on the passing touchdowns. And I'll just throw one more in there. Mark.
Well, how about Prop Beaver does his next, then we'll come back to it.
Okay. All right. What do you got?
Okay, well, I'm taking Lamar to throw a pick here. I mean, I do have multiple things in this game, but I guess we'll just talk strictly about the pick here. I'm of the opinion, fuck the regular season. Wipe your ass with those numbers when it comes to this ball game here, okay? MV3 is just not MV3 when it comes to the playoffs. I mean, every year I come so hopeful for Lamar Jackson in the playoffs. I mean, I love Lamar Jackson. He's one of my favorite players in the league. I'm of the opinion that he should definitely win the MVP this year, not Josh Allen. I could get into that debate all day, but we're not going to do that. When it comes to this play, I mean, I do like the value. Now, you may be thinking 4 interceptions all season, 17 games, and we're getting this at plus 120. How could this possibly have any value? Well, I'm going into the history books, my friend, because every time he plays Pittsburgh, they're in his head. He's thrown an interception in all 6 starts against them. On top of that, in the playoffs, he goes from MVP to not so MVP because the numbers fall off a cliff. He's thrown an interception in 5 or 6 career playoff starts. On top of that, the Steelers this season, they have their voodoo magic. They're always creating chaos, always creating those turnovers. An opposing quarterback has thrown an interception in 12 of 17 Steelers games this season. And for whatever reason, if we go back to 2021, Lamar's just so much more prone to throwing these interceptions at home with 94% of snaps, so essentially just healthy Lamar. Since 2021, 14-9 to the over, a 56% hit rate, where compared to at home, he's under his last 14 of 18, a 22% hit rate. So while it sounds insane to take an interception over for a guy who's thrown 4 through 17 games this season at plus 120, I do think there is quite a bit of hidden value here. I mean, we could go back to Jabo's Mark Andrews bet now, but I do have 2 others in this game as well.
Just something. So I'll comment on this, and because I don't know where I land on like somewhere between these two, because on one hand you have the point of this Lamar Jackson is different. He's a much more developed passer than he has been in any point of his career. He's been arguably the best pocket passer in the NFL this year, which is crazy, but the numbers don't lie. When given a clean pocket, he's first in yards per attempt, first in passer rating. So yes, he's a little bit of a different player than he has been in years past. That being said, that sentence I just said, Lamar's different this year, they say that every year when he goes to the playoffs. No, this Lamar's different. He's better than he was last year. No, Lamar won't shit the bed in the playoffs this year. This is different. You can copy and paste that sentence. It gets said every year. I'm not saying I'm siding with Prop Beaver or Steve here. I'm just saying that gets said every year. No, this year's different. Lamar's better this year. He won't shit the bed in the playoffs. And he always does. I know last year they beat Houston in the first round. He was terrible in the first half of that game, and he threw for 150 yards in the entire game. So it's not like he lit it up through the air. I don't think he's ever had a good day throwing the ball in the playoffs ever. And to Prop Beaver's point, if you look at over the course of his career, all Lamar Jackson's playoff games, all Lamar Jackson's games against the Steelers, all of them, we've seen one good passing day and like 11 bad games. So, I mean, he never plays well against the Steelers. He never plays well in the playoffs in terms of throwing the ball. So, I get it.
I agree. I will say this. I mean, he could throw 2 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. I don't care. I'm still cashing this. But
I would like that, Jabo. I think we can both do that.
Yeah, you can both cash. You can both. You know what?
Yes.
You both would have cashed in the last Ravens-Steelers game in Week 16. You both would have cashed this.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. But I do just love hearing Prop Beaver go, wipe your ass with the regular season. Now let's give me some regular season stats. But other than that, it was great.
Cooked them.
But either way, are we doing a touchdown?
Yeah. You want to go to your next? Touchdown.
I just really want to remind everybody to wipe their ass, you know. And yes, let's do that.
See if the song's working.
Damn it!
Reload the song. Reload it.
All right. 1 second. Let me reload. Wait.
It's in P video stuff.
How do I reload it with it in black?
Click. Yeah,
right.
There you go.
So we're just gonna have to do any time. Okay, we're in blackness momentarily, but we're gonna talk.
Yeah,
so it's
they can still hear me.
Okay. All right, Jesus.
P video stuff.
All right, this is tough now. Now I'm like freezing up. The thing froze. The thing fucking froze. Jesus Christ.
They can't hear you. They can only hear me.
Oh my God. It's like freezing now.
You're in video stuff right now. You were just in it.
Okay.
Touchdown score song.
Where is it? It's not here, as you could see.
All right. Hold on. I'll bet you I'll find it in 2 seconds.
There we go. Jesus Christ, man.
We good? Hit okay.
Yeah, thank God.
There we go.
Anytime, touching it down, scoring and running around. It's the anytime, touchdown, scoring. Anytime you need touchdown. Yeah.
There we go. We got the song.
Mark Andrews, anytime touchdown, plus 155.
Okay.
This man had 0 touchdowns in the first 5 games this season. Since then, 11 TDs in the last 12 games. It has been absolutely insane. Steelers tied for giving up the 8th most touchdowns to the tight end position this year. He's already scored a touchdown versus Pitt earlier this year. He has the highest red zone target share on the team, around 25%. Now we see no Zay Flowers. Obviously, he is injured. 1+ red zone target and 11 in the last 13. He's going to get his chances if Lamar's going to throw 2+ touchdowns. one of them has to go to Mark Andrews. So that's my anytime touchdown bet. But real quick on the side, I haven't heard you guys talk about the side yet. I have stayed away from Baltimore minus 9.5 because of what Kyle and you guys have said. Lamar can be tough to trust in the playoffs. We have to see it first, and 9.5 is just a lot, especially for a game within your division. Although I do think the Steelers have just looked terrible. They really have, and the Ravens have showed they can slow down Pat Freiermuth, and I think that's big because he's been a big part of Russell Wilson's pass offense. So it's going to be up to him and Pickens because they're not going to have a huge run game either. So if I had to pick a side, I do think the Ravens have a chance to just cook them today, but I'm staying away from the side. So I'm just curious to see what you guys think on the side.
So, I mean, I have 2 bets on this game. I nailed it in terms of the market. Now, is that always indicative of a good bet? Of course not. CLV gets smoked all the time, but my 2 bet, I got under 46.5 at open. It's now at 43.5, so I smoked that one, and I got Steelers at 10. So those are the 2 bets I have. I understand that on paper, the line at 9.5, it makes complete sense. The Ravens are 9.5 points better than the Steelers, without a doubt. Especially at home here, the line makes sense. I took the Steelers at 10. That wasn't really me saying the line's off. But I do think there's a couple things to consider here. We already talked about Lamar Jackson and the question marks, the concerns I have for him. I don't necessarily think he's going to play terrible, but I do think there are concerns. The Steelers always give him problems. He holds on to the football for a long time, and the Steelers pass rush gets there quickly. So that's a problem. He always seems to have a problem with Pittsburgh. But on the other side of the ball, a big part of this line, because this total's at 43.5. So it's not like the market thinks that the Ravens offense is going to light Pittsburgh up. The Steelers defense is at full strength here. No injuries. The complete front 7 healthy. Secondary healthy. Everyone's healthy. That wasn't the case the last time they played. They had no Joey Porter. They were missing another member of the secondary too, right?
Yes, they were also missing Dante Jackson.
And Watt was banged up for that game. He was questionable, right?
Yeah, so Watt the previous week either suffered a low or high ankle sprain. And I remember specifically, like, the dude was just off that game. He was bad.
Yeah. So the last time these 2 teams played, the Steelers were missing 2 members of the secondary, and their best player by far on the team was hobbled. Other than that, Lamar Jackson's never had a good career game against the Steelers. Now the Steelers defense is at full strength. This is a Mike Tomlin defense fully healthy. They are not about to just get bullied and give up 6 yards per carry in this game. They're not. They're going to show up. They're going to be physical. They're going to make the Ravens offense work for every first down in this game. I think the Steelers defense is going to be great, and the market agrees. Again, the total's 43.5. They are not expecting the Ravens offense to go off here. On the other side, the reason this line's at 9.5 is no one expects the Steelers offense to do shit, and in my opinion, the numbers back that up. I mean, how can you trust this offense right now? It's looked terrible for multiple weeks. They got Pickens back. It didn't help. They got Pickens back. They still look like shit the last 2 weeks. So why did I hit the Steelers at 10? I think we can. First of all, the Ravens defense, they've been a little susceptible to the downfield pass this year. That's kind of how you get to the Ravens. You can throw the ball downfield on them. You can connect on a big play or two. George Pickens coming off a game where he dropped 18 passes, or however the hell many passes he dropped. I expect him to make a couple plays that cannot be included in a handicap in this game. You know, a couple plays where you faded a bad team and you're like, this offense isn't going to do shit. And the receiver goes, snatches a ball out of the air he had no business catching. And you're like, well, shit, I can't handicap that. I think George Pickens is going to make a couple, quote unquote, you can't handicap that plays to get the Steelers into the end zone here a couple times. Maybe not a couple times, or maybe once is all they need to cover. So, yeah, I think George Pickens is going to do have a superstar moment or two in this game that keeps the Steelers offense from completely going 3 and out every single time. And also, don't sleep on Arthur Smith either. I know everyone's like, the Steelers can't run the football in this game. Yeah, on paper they can't. I wouldn't be surprised if Arthur Smith has some shit up his sleeve saved for this game. And the Steelers come out. Maybe they switch and they start running gap concept blocking schemes when they've been running zone all year. And all of a sudden, the Steelers are running the ball a little bit, and you're holding the Ravens ticket. Like, what the fuck? How are they running it? Don't be surprised if Arthur Smith comes out and surprises the Baltimore defense a little bit. He's a creative guy. He's a good OC. So I think the Steelers offense has enough up their sleeve to just stay in the game, and I expect the Steelers defense to be great. That's personally how I feel about the game. Like I said, the 2 bets I have open under 46.5 Steelers at plus 10. Toast, are you with me?
With you on the Steelers. Also, Chris Boswell over 1.5 field goals, -120. Beaver touched on it. If Lamar's throwing picks out here, even though the Steelers' offense has been bad, we might get a couple short fields. I just don't want to trust the Steelers' offense, but I feel like if Russ can get 1 or 2 deep balls to Pickens, we should be in a position for a field goal. If Lamar throws a pick, we should be in a position for a field goal. Boswell has let us. I don't want to say that Boz has let us down the last couple of weeks. I think it's the Steelers' offense has let us down. But I think that he should have a decent opportunity here. Plus, his kicking points is at 6.5 -115. Like I said, I just don't want to trust the Steelers' offense to score touchdowns. So if they score, they'll probably do it from his leg.
Boz would never let you down.
Kyle, real quick, what do you think of the Steelers team total? I think I saw under 17.5.
I mean, that's pretty high.
16.5 now.
Okay.
It's 16. I mean, my score prediction for this game was 23-17. Ravens win. Steelers score 4th quarter touchdown to backdoor cover. So for those of you, I almost nailed last night's Ohio State game. For those of you, I mean, you shouldn't bet exact score bets. But for those of you that want my exact score prediction, I said 23-17 Ravens. Steelers score 4th quarter touchdown to backdoor.
And Lamar throws two interceptions and 2 touchdowns.
I'm not on the Lamar Jackson interception shit. That's him. That's not me. That's him.
Serious question. Would you, if you had Baltimore or the Baltimore team total at 27.5, would you take Steelers +10 or Baltimore team total under 27.5?
Under 27.5.
Yeah. 27 is such a key number.
Yeah, I'm taking that. It's on Caesars, boys.
Yeah. I have an NBA bet to talk about. Steve, you have an NBA bet? I mean, there's only 4 games. They're getting most of the games got postponed, and I only want to talk about one of them. So I mean, I'm just saying, if you're welcome to stick around if you want to talk about an NBA game. I don't care if you have to go.
I can hang around. Yeah, I have 2 props. That's all I got. But I'll listen if I don't have something. Yeah, we'll
yeah. Let's screw it. Let's talk about the NBA for a second. Toast, I'll talk to you later, man.
Have a good night, guys.
Toast doesn't like talk about real ball.
Please, God, no.
All right, 1 second. Let me get it.
Toast threw an NBA bet down for like the first time in a week, and it was Warriors +7.5, and the players got ruled out. So like he dipped his toe into the NBA, got screwed by the injury report, which like just fueled his hatred of it more.
Oh yeah, it happens all the time.
All right, so
I'll just do 2 people.
Yeah, probably was going to set the screen. This will take 5 minutes. I have 1 bet and he has 2 props. We don't even need to do polls or anything. This game got postponed though. Yeah,
it did. Okay.
The game I want to talk about is Utah Phoenix. What game do you want to? We'll do this one first. So I'm on the Jazz here. I took a +11.5 last night. I don't know where this 11.5 is coming from. Are we just going to pretend like the Jazz aren't playing some decent basketball right now? I know that everyone's like, the Jazz on the road, you can't bet them. But a +11.5 against a Suns team that sucks, you most definitely can bet them. The Jazz have covered 4 in a row. 4-0 against the spread in their last 4. 9-2 against the spread in their last 9. So straight up, Utah's been covering the number. Phoenix has not. That's a good start, right? And what I really like, what pushed me over the edge. So right off the bat, I'm like, Houston's been covering, Phoenix hasn't. I'm already leaning to the Jazz before I start. And then what I really like here, let me just make sure there's no injury updates. Nope, still good. Markkanen still good. Walker Kessler still good. Those are the 2 I wanted. The reason I wanted those 2, check this out. In the last 10 games, and by the way, their strength of the schedules are even, 12th and 14th in that span. In the last 10 games, the Utah Jazz, 3rd in offensive rebounding rate, 6th in defensive rebounding rate. Suns, 28th and 23rd. So we're talking about a top 10, maybe even a top 5 rebounding team against a bottom 5 rebounding team. So I'm getting 11.5 points with a team that's covering the number, playing way better basketball right now than they were earlier in the season, and that should win the rebounding battle on both sides of the floor. Say less. Utah +11.5 for me. What game are your props in?
Nice. We'll stay with this one. I have a prop in this one. I don't know if you guys have seen him, but Isaiah Collier. He's played well.
Oh, did I see real quick before you go? Did I see you were on like a heater in the NBA, like 7 in a row or something? I saw you post.
We've been on a heater. Yeah, we had a little minor speed bump on Friday. Yeah, but okay. It's been a good season. Yeah, we've won like 17 units, and it's been great. But it's humbling, and we can lose 10 in 2 days. So
yeah, I'm in that part. That's where I'm at.
Gotcha. Yeah. But yeah, my best bet in this one is Isaiah Collier, over 6.5 assists. If you don't know him, he's a 20-year-old guy who's playing big minutes right now because we got no Jordan Clarkson, no Keontae George in this one. In the 4 games he's played without those two guys. He's gone over this in 3 or 4 games. The only one he didn't was against the Orlando Magic. Obviously, one of the best defensive teams. They don't allow assists at all, and he still ended with 6 on that one. But in the last 2 games, he had exactly 9 assists on 16 potential assists in each game. So it's been pretty huge for him. You can go rebounds plus assists. I think it was 10.5 at plus money when I saw last night. And now he faces a Suns team who in the last 30 days, they've allowed the 10th most assists to the point guard position. So he's going to play huge minutes even in a blowout. And I don't think it's going to be a blowout, kind of like what Kyle just said. I think they're going to hang around long enough for him to play minutes. And honestly, they get blown out all the time. They still want to play their young players. So I like Isaiah Collier. I think this line is just too slow to move. I think 6.5 is too low. And kind of like Kyle said, rebounding wise, I think Walker Kessler just absolutely cleans it last on this one. I don't mind his points plus rebounds over if you're looking for something else too. But yeah, my best bet is Collier. If I had to pick a side though, I'm on the Utah side as well.
Wesker says Suns have been getting that ass tapped by the books lately. They're just due. I mean, I get how you would think that, but the Suns are a team that when Durant or Devin Booker are on the floor, people are betting them. So, like, they could go 0-6 against the spread, lose 6 games in a row. If Durant and Booker are playing, they're still going to take some action because of the superstar power. So it's not like everyone's been fading the Suns and it's free money. There is probably, I mean, with those 2 superstars on the floor, they are going to take some action in some games. All right, I'm done. So what other game do you want to talk about?
Well, this isn't a great, a fun bet, but I have a Detroit Piston player bet.
Let's do it.
You want to go to that one?
Oh, this game's disgusting.
It's so disgusting. It's nasty. Okay, so first, don't watch the game. Second of all, Tim Hardaway Jr., if you followed me on my channel, under a half a steal plus block. That's right. I am not saying that wrong. Under a half a steal plus block. We've been betting this all season. I think we're 3-1 on this so far this year. We bet it last game. He got his first block of the season. And actually he was out the next game with a back injury. People in my Discord were saying because he had a block and it hurt his back finally. But the deal with this one, guys, he's done this in 25 of 34 games and it's plus 140. 25 of 34 games this year and it's plus 140. That's all I got for you. I'm not going to sit here and break down how he doesn't get a steal or block. This man just does not try to do it. I've seen him get a steal before in one of those 9 games where I think it was Brunson just threw the ball right to him. It's not because he's playing hard defense, but under a half a steal plus block is plus 140.
Hold on. How do you even find a bet like this?
Outlier. I found it earlier this season. No, when I watch games, I look for steals and blocks.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm a steals and blocks guy.
Yeah, no, I never bet steals and blocks. But Tim Hardaway, again, 25 of 34 games he's gone under. If you're going to continue to give me plus money, you can bet it 10 times. You're going to be making money. Obviously, he will get a steal sometimes, and it's not one you want to follow. It's excruciating watching a guy play 30 minutes, and you just continue to hope he doesn't get one of either. But he only has 1 block all year, so and not many steals, obviously. So that's my only bet in this game. It's disgusting. Yeah.
All right, cool. Property, do you have an underdog?
Yeah, I do.
All right, let's do the underdog and let's get the hell out of here.
Okay. All right. So, well, should we?
Or you want me to read it since you're not on the screen?
Parlay as well.
It's not the community parlay. It's noon already. We've been on for a while.
All right. So the underdog is we got Lamar Jackson lower than 22.75 fantasy points. I actually like that quite a bit if you're on underdog because not only do have the Steelers' pass defense really bounce back last week, but they're excellent at limiting scrambling quarterbacks. So like that as well. Also the history against them. And then Quentin Johnston, we're taking Kyle's pick and we're doing higher than 47.5 receiving yards due to those splits against the zone. If you're a customer or would like to become a new customer of Underdog Fantasy, well, you could take Justin Herbert higher than a half total yard as a free square and replace one of those picks or add it and make it a 3-leg. If you'd like to become an Underdog customer, you can in one of those lovely yellow states. Just use the promo code BET, B-E-T, and you can get a deposit match up to $1,000, 3 letters.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Steve, thanks for joining. You make sure you check out Steve's channel, Just a Bet Outside, uploads daily content. Like he just said, I saw on his Twitter that they've been doing well in the NBA recently. So he uploads the daily NBA videos. Make sure you check him out. Give him a subscribe. Steve, enjoy your... I'll see you tomorrow morning.
Yep, we'll be back on the morning. I appreciate it. Real quick, last question. Prop Beaver, are we on a Gobert assist today?
Who is he playing? He's playing the Grizz.
He's playing the Grizz.
I didn't look at it today. I don't want to give blind advice on Gobert assist. I know a lot of people really take it very seriously. So
you need to do a deep dive on Gobert assist. You can't
really
just pull
need
the
to
trigger
get
on
into
that.
the nitty gritty when I'm giving those out. So
All right, everyone,
thanks,
enjoy your
fellas.
Sunday.
all right.